How's it going, guys? It's been a while since I've talked about anything on this channel that wasn't a commentary on someone else's stuff. Lots of issues going on out there. Lots of big problems that need solving in this day and age. Something that I believe I should have talked about a long time ago, but I didn't because I guess I got sidetracked by doing other stuff, is the whole fat acceptance movement. Go figure, a guy who's fat and has been fat most of his life is going to talk about this. And it's probably not what you're going to be expecting. I guess you can see from the title already, or maybe not. I don't know what I'm going to title it. But, guys, this whole fat acceptance thing, what it's turned into, obviously, from years back, it's another movement that had pretty decent roots, and then someone hijacked it and then turned it into something completely different and went above and beyond what it actually needed to be. So I guess, like any other fat person who is telling their opinion and their thoughts on the whole fat acceptance movement, I guess I need to give my story as well. So, long story short, I've been fat most of my life. In fact, I believe I've been technically considered obese for a good 20 years of my life. For the first maybe 5 years, I was a normal weight. And then my aunt moved in with me and my mother back in the day, and she brought in the sodas, the chips, the sweets, and stuff like that. And according to my mom, mostly what I was drinking and eating before was healthy foods and Kool-Aid or something like that. And my mom, being morbidly obese herself back in the day, more than I am now, to be honest, I assume that she did this because she saw, what it was like being that big and the limitations and the drawbacks that come from it. So after, I guess, my 5 years of being alive, I all of a sudden started downing 2 liters like crazy. I was eating sugary cereals constantly. I was constantly going to the fridge. It became a habit of mine just to go to the fridge if I was bored or I needed something to do. And pretty much that lasted until my 8th grade year. To give perspective about how obese I was as a child, I believe I weighed 200 pounds in 5th grade. You got to realize that also I didn't think much of it because kids growing up really aren't looking for attractiveness, at least in my opinion, looking for attractiveness in certain things that would have anything to do with being fat. Maybe you might be slow. But of course, I was like 5'3" in 3rd grade, and then I was 6 foot in 6th grade. So, excuse me. So that wasn't that big of a deal. So for the most part, I didn't have many problems. I got called names, of course. But I didn't have many problems until I hit 7th grade. 7th grade is when a lot of things changed. Of course, you're entering puberty. You're looking at people a different way. They're looking at you a different way. I believe at that point people are looking around for like, oh, well, can I date this person, be friends with this person? Do I even want to be friends with that person? And unfortunately, I got the short end of the stick in all forms. I was still 200 and something pounds. I hadn't reached the 300-pound mark yet, but I was still 200 something pounds, and I was still overweight or obese. I'm pretty sure technically. I hadn't really done any training or exercise. I wasn't built nowhere near as much as I am now, and I got relentlessly bullied in middle school. 7th grade mainly. My entire year, I would come in and I would hear insults on a daily basis, and I'm not even joking. On a daily basis, besides, of course, when we were out for whatever reason, I was insulted on a daily basis, told that I was the worthless, nobody liked me, that I was a fat slob, and that I was disgusting, and stuff like that. Was some of that true? Yeah, but getting constantly bullied like that brought me into possibly the biggest depression I've ever been in. It was the only time where, in all honesty, if I'm going to be honest with you guys, that I actually thought about killing myself. In 7th grade, when I was 11, 12 years old, I thought that I should kill myself. That's how bad I felt. And even the next year, when I had actually worked or walked on a treadmill for a while, and I lost enough weight to the point where, in my opinion, looking back, I was probably more overweight than I was obese. And I still saw myself as morbidly obese. That's how bad it was. And this depression, or the depression lasted maybe a year or two. But when I got into high school, even when I went into high school, I didn't really care about anything. I didn't care about meeting someone because I looked at myself. I still said, I'm fat as fuck. I'm still incredibly fat. Why would anyone want to go out with me? And people actually, I had someone or some people ask me, you want to go out, you want to, and wanted to know stuff about me. And I turned them down because I was like, why would they like me? Why would they care about me? And it lasted for a long time. It only recently, only within the past maybe 2 or 3 years, has that completely changed. To the point where now I'm certainly not depressed. I'm more, I don't know how to say it. If there was something to do around here, I would actually get out and do it. But feeling sorry for myself constantly and pretty much putting myself down constantly, I realized that wasn't really doing much. I was just making myself look like a fool. And finally someone did like me, and we had a relationship and everything, and that completely changed me as a person. Because at one point I believed that no one would like me. I believe no one would really care. But I mean, like I said, I got asked out before, but the person that asked me out was now like hours away from me. So I'm looking around and I get in a relationship finally, and it changed me as a person. Someone liked me for some reason. Even though it ended bad, someone liked me for some reason. Which brings me to the whole notion of fat acceptance. The whole notion of fat acceptance is completely null and void, because the things that work for fat acceptance that you look at and you think is, pretty decent, that's something that needs to be, actually a part of our lives or whatever, like the lack of bullying people simply for being fat, is something that already exists today. It's just bullying. If someone's being a bully, they're being an ass. They're being an asshole. They're being jerks. They're lashing out on other people for problems that they have. And because that's the main point, I feel like with fat acceptance, or the root good part of fat acceptance, it kind of becomes useless, because that is already in effect on many other different cases, many other different levels. But then we get into the retardation of the whole subject. Like I said, fat people hate that's a subreddit based on hating fat people. But the whole notion of fat acceptance started out pretty well based on that thing. It put a magnifying glass on the whole fat people get bullied a lot. So at least there was a magnifying glass on that, and that it was a constant thing in our lives. Stop the bullying, stop that. But then it went even further into something that is completely ridiculous and something I would never, ever, ever say. And that is these people who say you can be healthy at any size. What kind of logic is that? Do you see many old people that are morbidly obese in freaking hover rounds and electric scooters or something going around? Do you see a lot of morbidly, like to the point where you can't even walk? Do you see a lot of morbidly obese people going around these days? Because I don't. I certainly don't see a lot of people that are healthy for their size. Now, I can tell you what this means and where people got this. They went to the doctor. A lot of fat people go to the doctor at a young age, and the doctor says, oh, well, there's nothing wrong with your cholesterol, nothing wrong with your blood sugar, really, and this is fine and that's fine. So while you're technically healthy, you really do need to lose weight because it will cause problems in the future. This is something that gets kind of cut out of the discussion. It kind of gets thrown to the side when people are talking about fat acceptance. They ignore the part where it says you still need to lose weight because it'll cause problems later on, and they focus on what the doctor is telling them right there in the moment. Oh, well, I have no problems with my cholesterol and sugar now, but in the future it will be serious. And I've seen people say this. I've seen people use the healthy at any size quote or whatever, and it's completely stupid. And then there's also people that, for the most part, if you're fat, you're not really getting a lot of, or for other things, I can kind of understand being fat because, get this, all right? I did a bit of research last year, okay? I've known this for a little while. Or, I believe it was last year. So I've known it for about a year. And I looked up something. That for the most part, fat in your diet isn't that big of an issue? Go figure. What a surprise. And to add to the big surprise, the main component of a lot of people getting fat so fast and getting so much weight added on is overeating due to things like sugar in whatever they're eating. If you notice, a lot of things contain a lot of high fructose corn syrup and sugar. And there's a reason for that. And I even looked it up because I've heard for a long time that there is such a thing as sugar addiction. They actually encourage, if you're a parent, not to give your children sugar because it is addictive. I thought it was somewhat addictive. I didn't know to the point of how bad it actually was, how addicting it can be. I looked up this article, or I looked up sugar addiction, and I found this article that states that sugar consumed in enough quantities can make you, it gives you pretty much the same symptoms as a heroin addict. And for years, another thing that I found out by reading up on this is that lobbyists have actually paid researchers to shift the blame of so much obesity in the United States over to fat, saturated fats, or some other kind of fat, while while ignoring sugar. And wouldn't you know it, a lot of companies seem to put a lot of sugar in it and would benefit majorly from people being addicted to their food. But the difference between a heroin addict and someone who's morbidly obese, okay? A heroin addict, for the most part, will get one benefit from being a heroin addict, and that is a free trip or possibly free trip to a rehab clinic, and that's about it. Yeah, you'll get some people that sympathize with you, and for the most part, it's pretty realistic, Being obese, and it's something that not a lot of people talk about because they're embarrassed to say it, being obese for some people, if they choose to go down that path, can lead to a whole plethora of benefits. Let me just name you a few examples. You're now, because you're so fat and you have to roam around in a scooter, sometimes that scooter can be paid for. Then you're on possibly Medicaid or Medicare or whatever for being obese. You get a nice handicap spot closer to the door because instead of doing something that would probably help you out by walking, maybe across the parking lot or whatever, you instead get a nice parking spot closest to the door as possible. You now can fish for sympathy constantly. You can now say that you're trying your best and you've technically lost 5 pounds, but you gain that weight right back. I've seen a lot of people do this. And you get to possibly make money off of stuff like this. You get to make money off of people sympathizing with you, sympathizing over what you're saying. And that is my main issue, or that's the main reason why I think a lot of people have all of a sudden hopped on the bandwagon of fat acceptance. You can lose weight pretty easily, in my opinion. I've done it before. A few years back, I did a vegetarian diet, they call it a plant-based diet. I did a vegetarian diet, I did a protein diet, or I forgot what that diet, the specific name for that diet is. And I've also cut out sodas completely. And in all those diets that I've done, I've lost weight simply by cutting calories. So, and exercising, of course. I do T25. But for some people, the benefits far outweigh the benefits of being skinny. They see what they have now, all the free shit that they're getting, and they realize that, why do I need to lose weight? Everything's so good right now. And I notice, I'm going to throw his name out here because a lot of people ask me, why do you not like Boogie so much? Boogie is one of those people that has gained a monstrous amount of sympathy for being fat while doing what appears to be absolutely nothing about it. If you noticed, he has multiple plugs for exercise programs, people coming into his room. I guess he can't walk and meet them somewhere else to have a better, you know, better situation, video or whatever, set up. So they come into his room and they talk about whatever exercise program he's going to try. And then he doesn't lose weight. For him to lose that much weight, it would be pretty visible right now. But what pisses me off, and this is my rant in regards to this, but it falls into the whole sympathy thing and how it doesn't make sense, and how and how people can like benefit so much from just being fat and just from saying woe is me. What pisses me off is that Boogie will make himself look like a complete moron. Imagine I'm sitting here and I'm jiggling my man tits. I'm just jiggling my man tits, shirtless or whatever, jiggling them around, and then I get a bunch of comments, and I have a smile on my face. I don't look like I'm troubled or anything, but I have a big old smile on my face while I'm jiggling my man tits. And then I get a bunch of comments, a bunch of obvious comments. You need to lose weight, you're freaking fat, you're this and that and everything. And then the next day I make a video, I can't take it anymore, all these people are making fun. You made fun of yourself. And now you're going to whine that people are also making fun of you. And this is something that happens a lot in his videos. Guys, I'm trying to lose weight. I'm taking this serious. I'm doing the best I can, and blah, blah, blah. And then he's splashing into a pool. Shirtless, just trying to get the biggest splash or whatever in a pool, embracing his fatness. And then the cycle continues over and over again. I'm fat, and then he makes a fool of himself. I'm fat, and then he makes a fool of himself. And then he makes an uplifting video, tears in his eyes, reacting to someone else who's lost weight and while he doesn't do it. It really pisses me off because he uses a lot of excuses. He says that he was bullied as a kid. Like I said, I was too. Relentlessly bullied. Relentlessly. There's stuff that I haven't even told you about. I was relentlessly bullied for a whole year. It wasn't here and there. For a whole year straight, I was physically and, mentally and verbally bullied. And I hear that, and then I hear I hear so many excuses. I hear so many excuses for people that are fat that it makes me angry. Because I hear it all the time, and I'm like, dude, just get up, move your arms, walk, do something. Lately, Boogie made a video. I don't even understand the whole point of the video, where he has his legs under his desk, and he's like, I'm going to show you what my legs look like. Oh, look how deformed they are. Right after I gave my video about how the weight loss is going. And here's another mind trick that people will use. The whole I've lost X amount of pounds means absolutely nothing. When a lot of fat people, especially ones that are manipulative and are fishing for sympathy, they'll say that they've lost 60 pounds. They'll say that they've lost it. I've lost about 100 pounds. But I gained most of it right back. Sure, I'm more muscular, but I certainly gained a lot of weight back from what I had lost. So technically, I lost 100 pounds, but in reality, I guess technically I didn't, but I'm going to tell you that I lost 100 pounds. Because I can say that. You can technically say that. But in reality, they've lost 0 or even or even worse, gained weight more than they had before. But they'll tell people that they lost a certain amount of weight, which is why you hear a lot of people that say that they've lost weight. And then when you look at them, they don't look any different. And there's a reason for that. Technically, they haven't. They really haven't lost any weight compared to what they were before. So there's probably more things I could talk about, but that's pretty much my opinion on fat acceptance. There's no such thing as healthy at any size. This is an excuse for people to, in the moment, live and eat all they want to and then die later at an early age compared to what they could have, and to just not exercise. And there's a lot of people out there who just want to fish for sympathy. But the only thing that's good about the fat acceptance movement was the spotlight it gave on fat people that are bullied, are bullies in general. That's pretty much the only thing. And I commend people that participate in that. But all these other people who believe that it's everyone else's fault, that I got fat and it's someone else's fault, and it's not technically, it's your fault. You let things get to you. You let things spiral out of control. But there is a point to it. Like I said, the addiction, you can be addicted to food. You can be addicted to food. It's scientifically proven now. Eating so much sugar that you're practically a heroin addict. So anyway, like I said, that's my opinion on the whole subject of fat acceptance from a fat guy. 340 pounds right now. 6'3". So I believe I certainly have an opinion in this. I believe that fat acceptance as it is now is completely stupid and pointless, but it had some good roots. But this is That's Doable.